Welcome to The Explainer. If you're a focused learner who loves peeling back the layers of how industries actually work, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're completely dismantling the myths of the real estate business. For decades, pop culture and reality TV have sold us this very specific, incredibly glamorous version of what it means to sell property. Think, way less selling sunset and way more spreadsheets. But the underlying economics, they tell a drastically different story about volume, recurring streams, and where the real money is actually made.
Okay, let's dive into this. The assumption we all make is pretty simple, right? Sell bigger houses, earn these massive multi-million-dollar commissions, and boom, you found the ultimate shortcut to wealth. But as you're about to see, the economic machinery operating behind the scenes is incredibly complex. It's heavily front-loaded with risk, and honestly, it's highly vulnerable to forces completely outside of an agent's control.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The luxury market myth, 2. The mid-market reality, 3. The customer acquisition trap, 4. The power of reputation, 5. Hidden costs and failed deals, and finally 6. The interest rate shock. Let's get right to it.
Section 1, the luxury market myth. It's time to see how those flashy Miami, Beverly Hills, and London properties actually represent some seriously trapped capital.
You look at those breathtaking properties in premier markets, and they just look like absolute gold mines, right? But a property priced above $5 million is a totally different beast. It sits for a median of over 150 days. The most exclusive estates, they can sit for a year, sometimes longer. And while they just sit there, they are literally bleeding cash. We're talking continuous professional landscaping, round-the-clock security monitoring, and designer staging furniture that's rented month after month. The high insurance premiums aren't trivial here either. And oh man, if there's a bridge loan or development debt on that property, that interest is compounding every single day it sits unsold.
And then there's the marketing, $25,000. That is the jaw-dropping upfront cost required before a single high-net-worth buyer even walks through the front door. We're talking full-blown architectural film production, custom websites, high-end print editorials, and lavish private preview events. And remember, the buyer pool for this is incredibly narrow and super sensitive to global economic uncertainty. When the economy gets even a little bit jittery, affluent buyers just pause. The whole market freezes up, but guess what? That massive marketing bill is already paid. Section 2, the mid-market reality. Let's shift the energy and contrast that stalled luxury market with the frankly boring but highly profitable mid-market.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core economic contrast of the entire industry. While luxury properties are languishing, just waiting for perfect global economic sentiment, the mid-market, meaning homes priced between $300,000 and $600,000, turns over in a median of just 53 days. Why? Because the mid-market is driven by unavoidable life events. Things like job changes, growing families, divorces, relocations. These things simply do not wait for perfect economic conditions.
In high-demand active American cities like Austin or Denver, that median drops to under 3 weeks. Think about that. This specific data point really hammers home an overarching lesson in real estate economics. Volume and consistency will almost always be out those massive but super rare headline commission sizes. Section 3, the customer acquisition trap. Here's a pivotal narrative shift. Real estate agents don't actually sell houses. They sell access to trust.
And building that trust, it costs money, serious money. The national average customer acquisition cost in residential real estate is $791 per paying client. That money goes straight into the pockets of tech giants and advertisers. You've got Google pay-per-click ads at $5 to $15 a click, Facebook campaigns just to capture early awareness, and local billboards to build up that vital neighborhood recognition.
Let's walk through how this builds into a notoriously painful sales funnel. First, a real estate website might attract, say, 10,000 unique visitors in a month. Out of those, maybe 1 to 2% will actually become clients. And even then, the agent has to wait 6 to 12 months for a potential closing. To fund enough advertising just to find a single transaction, a brokerage doing 50 deals a year can easily burn $40,000 annually on ads alone. And the kicker, that spend doesn't even guarantee a closing. It literally only guarantees an opportunity.
This right here is the fatal trap that drains early-stage brokerages. As this quote perfectly captures, they measure success by lead volume instead of by cost per closed transaction. You can generate hundreds of online inquiries a month, But because the conversion rate is so astronomically low and the cycle is so agonizingly long, your marketing budget is entirely wiped out long before any commission checks actually arrive. It basically leaves you with a ton of emails and $0 in the bank.
Section 4. The power of reputation. Let's pivot to the solution for that acquisition trap and see exactly how seasoned agents actually survive.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the data maps out a super clear path. According to the National Association of Realtors, seasoned agents, we're talking those with 16 or more years of experience, rely on built-in trust. They derive 41% of their annual transactions from past clients and 28% from referrals. They aren't constantly shelling out cash to Google and Facebook for trust. They already own it.
That means nearly 70% of their business arrives with built-in trust at a near zero acquisition cost. I mean, wow! This decisive financial difference is the only sustainable escape from that crushing marketing cycle. It's exactly what separates struggling early-stage businesses from highly profitable, sustainable operations. Sure, it takes years to build, but once it's established, it fundamentally changes the economics of the entire firm.
Section 5. Hidden costs and failed deals. Now things get a bit darker because an avalanche of hidden costs compresses margins regardless of transaction volume. Even with a stellar reputation, margin compression is this constantly looming threat. Let's look at the baseline survival costs. Commercial office rent absolutely doesn't pause just because the housing market softens. Staff salaries, software subscriptions, professional liability insurance, all of this must be paid. For a mid-sized brokerage, basic fixed overhead easily reaches $10,000 to $25,000 a month. That is up to $300,000 a year that must be generated before the owner can earn a single dollar of profit. And generating that revenue, it's an absolute minefield because real estate contracts are highly fragile instruments loaded with contingencies. Boom, a home inspection reveals a cracked foundation. Boom, a lender kills the transaction because the appraisal comes in below the purchase price. Boom, a title search surfaces a lien that voids the entire deal. Plus, rising professional liability claims against agents are creating legal disputes that just add to the distraction and pile onto those sunk costs. So, the crucial point is this 15 to 30% failure rate. In a busy brokerage, failed transactions can account for nearly a third of all contracts written in a given year. When a contract collapses after weeks of hard work, the brokerage obviously loses the commission, but they also don't get back a dime of the money spent on photography, marketing, or agent time. Every single failed deal is a total, unrecoverable cash loss.
Section 6. The interest rate shock. This is the climax, the ultimate, uncontrollable structural threat to the entire business model. We've looked at the micro risks, but now we really have to confront the macro risks. Real estate purchases are almost universally financed through borrowed money, and the post-pandemic rate cycle of 2022 perfectly demonstrated this vulnerability. As the Federal Reserve combated inflation, standard 30-year fixed rates skyrocketed from under 3% to above 7%. Let's translate those abstract percentages into painful, relatable human realities. The monthly payment on a $400,000 mortgage went from roughly $1,600 to over $2,600. I really want to emphasize this reality. It is the exact same buyer, the exact same home, the exact same purchase price. Yet the cost to own that home increased by nearly $1,000 every single month. Millions of potential buyers were effectively priced out of the market practically overnight. When borrowing costs spike like that, the market freezes, rendering even the most brilliant, expensive marketing funnels completely useless. The economics of real estate aren't about glamorous open houses. They are about surviving relentless costs and macro forces totally beyond your control. So I'll conclude this explainer with a provocative question that might just make you question everything you thought you knew about real estate economics. When your true product is trust, how resilient is your acquisition funnel against the next macroeconomic shock? Think about that the next time you see $1 million listing. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.